Friday about 3:15, my wife calls me, and I was at work, and she said, honey, you got to come get me. I said, where are you at? She's like, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? She said, I'm somewhere, and she was very out of it. So I've got her, I can track her on my phone, so I found her. She's on the side of the road between Radcliffe and E-Town. And I said, what's wrong, baby? And she's slumped over in the car, and her face is drooped, and her arm's numb. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's having a stroke. So I said, get in the truck. So I'm on my way to the hospital, and we're about a mile from the hospital. And she starts holding her chest. She said, I can't breathe, baby. Something's really wrong. I said, hold on, we're almost there. So I pulled in, her arm was numb, and she's holding her chest, and she couldn't breathe. So I pulled in the back by the emergency room, and I beat on the doors and said, somebody please help me. Something's really wrong with my wife. And they said, okay. And it took forever. So I'm standing there with my wife, and the spirit just came over me, and I said, devil, you're messing with the wrong man's wife today. I said, you are not taking my wife. I've been fasting all week, on a complete fast. I hadn't had anything to eat from Sunday night, and this is Friday afternoon, just liquids. No TV, only Bible, preaching, praying, all day, every day. So I said, devil, you ain't taking this one. So they come out and get my wife, and they take her in. Well, I'm parked in the emergency lane, so I have to take my truck around, park in a parking garage. It took me about 10, 15 minutes to get back to where they're at. Yeah, so I have a big truck. So regardless, when I get there, they had her in the stroke ward in the back, and they already had her in the CT machine. Yeah, in the CT machine, and they had a neurologist on the little robo computer screen, and they was asking her all these questions. And they said, yes, we think she's having a stroke, and they was going to admit her some type of medicine. Well, they take her out, and then she raises up, and her face comes back, and then she said, my arm's okay now.
Back in March, I'll talk now. Back in March, when Melissa Swindle was here, I really like her. She's like, she talks about cowboy Cadillacs. Well, I like my cowboy Cadillac, And so then she's like, come up here and lay hands on. And I had been on anxiety medicine for 8 years. So I was like, okay. Jason's like, come on, you can do this. So I stand up there and I put my hands up, and she puts her hands on me, and I was like, this is it. I have not had my anxiety medicine since March, since Melissa Swindle has been here. And so when they was like, do you take any medicine? Do you take any blood thinner? I don't take no medicine no more. They kept asking me, do you take blood thinner? No, I'm not taking none. The long story short, they put me in the critical care team and everything. And so I'm laying there, and I have the worst veins. They poke me everywhere. My feet, my knuckles, it's so bad. I mean, they stuck me everywhere. And so I'm like, please come, where's my husband at? Him and Hunter was standing right by the door. And so finally they got one. I had to bring that IV machine or whatever in, finally got one. And so they put me in this room, take me, do all these MRIs, this knocking stuff. And so then they come in, and Dr. Shaw was like, him and Jason used to work out at the EAC together. And so he said, she's fine. And I said, are you serious? Everything's good. He said, ain't nothing wrong with her. Her blood's good. Her head's good. Her heart's good. I'm healed, whole, and happy.